Forget the clean, standardized war you see in documentaries. In Italy, the terrain chewed up plans fast. Tight stairwells, stone farmhouses, sudden ambushes at 10 meters, and supply lines that did not always deliver the right tool on the right day. Officially, you fought with what you were issued, fed by your unit's ammo chain. Unofficially, you fought with what worked, what fit in your hands, and what you could keep running. These are the 7 hidden weapons U.S. Marines used in the Italian campaign. Number 7. German MP-40 submachine guns. From enemy hands to friendly problems. U.S. policy was clear: stick to standardized weapons and ammunition. Captured enemy small arms were supposed to be turned in for intelligence, not carried on patrol. The logic was boring but real. Identification mattered, resupply mattered, and no one wanted a firefight started by a silhouette and the wrong muzzle flash. Then you hit Italian towns where every room is a blind corner. The MP-40 made sense. It was compact, controllable, and it fed from 32-round magazines that were easy to stuff into pockets. In close work, some men preferred it to a full-length rifle, especially when a quick burst could end a rush before bayonets came out. But it also created new hazards. Get separated, and nobody in your unit has magazines. The 9x19mm supply is whatever you can scrounge off prisoners and dead. And the sound of an MP-40 firing could draw friendly fire, because to everyone else it still sounded like the enemy. In some units, it bought seconds in a room-clearing fight. In other documented cases across Italy, captured weapon carriers were ordered to ditch them after confusion in contact because survival is also not being shot by your own side. Number 6. Walther P38 pistols. A good sidearm and a bad logistics decision. On paper, the American answer was the M1911A1. .45 ACP, common parts, known manual of arms. Pistols were secondary weapons, and doctrine didn't want men building personal arsenals out of souvenirs. Captured handguns were supposed to be tagged, bagged, and shipped rearward. Reality was more human. AP-38 was slim, double action on the first shot, and quick to bring into play in cramped buildings. In Italy's house-to-house fighting Rome in 1944, the image people reached for a pistol was what you had when your primary weapon was slung, jammed, or too long for a doorway. But the advantage came with strings. 9mm wasn't what American supply pushed forward. A captured pistol was only accurate as long as you could feed it, and feeding it meant betting on future captures or trading with anyone who had a stash. Sometimes it did exactly what a sidearm is meant to do. One fast, close shot that ends a sudden grapple. Sometimes it failed in the dullest way possible: empty magazines at the wrong moment, leaving a man with a fine German pistol and no ammunition to make it matter. Number 5. FG-42 automatic rifles. The elite rifle that punished amateurs. There was a reason the US tried to keep weapons standardized. Automatic fire belonged, doctrinally, to the bar and the squad's machine guns, with specific roles and ammo planning behind them. A captured German automatic rifle didn't fit the tables, didn't fit training, and didn't fit resupply. The FG-42 tempted men anyway. It was light for what it did. It could put rapid fire downrange in a way a semi-auto rifle couldn't, and it handled like something built for violent, short engagements. In Italy, German Fallschirmjäger fought hard and left equipment behind when positions were overrun or abandoned. But the FG-42 was not a free upgrade. It drank 7.92 times 57mm, and that meant every burst was borrowed from the enemy's logistics. Magazines were specialized, spare parts were fantasy, and a weapon designed around a trained paratrooper could punish an untrained user with overheating, broken extractors, or stoppages when dirt got into a magazine. In mountain fighting late in 1944, a captured FG-42 could give a patrol sudden fire superiority for one sharp contact. In other cases, it became dead weight after a few fights, an impressive machine that went silent the moment the last captured rounds were gone. Number 4. Beretta MAB-38 submachine guns. Reliable, accurate, still not yours. Officially, Allied small arms in Italy ran on Allied ammunition and Allied maintenance. A submachine gun wasn't just a gun, it was magazines, springs, armors, and predictable resupply. Captured weapons, especially Italian, were not part of that system, and carrying them could complicate identification in fast-moving skirmishes. The Beretta MAB-38 earned its reputation the hard way. It was heavy for a submachine gun, but that weight made it steady. The sights were usable. The machining was good. In the kind of fights that happened around partisan activity and raids, Liguria gets mentioned in post-war accounts. The Beretta could be a practical tool when you needed controllable fire in alleys, courtyards, and stairwells. Men adopted it because it ran when conditions were filthy and time was short. And because 9mm could sometimes be found locally, traded for, or taken from enemy stocks more easily than a specific American item that hadn't reached you yet. It could work beautifully short bursts that stayed on target and stopped a rush. It could also backfire socially. A weapon that looked wrong at a glance, raising nerves among friendly troops and inviting strict orders to turn it in once higher command noticed. Before we move on, if you were clearing stone buildings with uncertain resupply, would you gamble on a captured 9mm weapon or stay with standard US calibers? Tell us your pick below and subscribe. The next three get even more improvised and more risky. Number 3. Carcano carbines. A cheap rifle and the right length for the wrong war. Carrying a non-standard rifle wasn't just frowned on. It collided with paperwork, training, and ammunition tables. The US rifle answer was the M1 Garand, fed by .3006 in 8-round end blocks, with parts and armors built around it. Italian 6.5mm wasn't in the plan, but plans don't climb stairwells. The Carcano carbine was short, light, easy to keep close to the body when you were squeezing through doorframes or crawling over terrace walls. Some were picked up from Italian stocks after the armistice, others from abandoned posts, and they came with their own oddball clip system that was simple once you'd handled it. The reason men kept them was practical. A handy rifle that didn't snag and didn't advertise itself with a long barrel. And in some areas, 6.5mm could be found in quantity until it couldn't. One patrol could use a Carcano to quietly cover a corner and stay mobile in cramped terrain. Another man learned the other side of handy, weak ammunition supply and unfamiliar sights that slowed hits when range suddenly opened up across a valley. Number 2. Enemy stick grenades. Simple leverage, complicated timing. US doctrine wanted grenades that matched US training. The Mk2, Pineapple, had known fragmentation, known fuse delays, and a known throwing profile. Captured grenades were supposed to be turned in or destroyed. Different fuses meant different habits, and the wrong habit can take fingers. German stick grenades were everywhere in Italian fighting, especially around positions held by experienced units. They were easy to carry on a belt or shoved into a pocket without snagging. The handle gave leverage. You could throw farther. You could also use the head as a blunt tool in the kind of grappling, sudden fights that don't show up on clean battle maps. But the fuse system demanded respect. Pulling a cap, yanking a bead, lighting a delay under stress, with wet hands, in darkness, that's a lot of steps. Some men practiced. Others just copied what they'd seen. Used right, it cleared a room or a trench line with a longer throw than a Mk2. Used wrong, it became a close-range liability, premature detonation from mishandling, or a long delay that gave the enemy time to throw it back or kick it into a doorway. Number 1. Flare pistols used as combat weapons. A signaling tool turned into a last-ditch launcher. A flare pistol was issued for communication, not killing. Its job was to send a colored signal up unit identification, requests, pre-arranged messages. Regulations treated it like pyrotechnics equipment. Store it safely. Fire it upward. Don't improvise unless ordered. Then you put men in stone buildings and narrow lanes where line-of-sight radios fail and the enemy is 10 meters away. Some flare pistols could fire more than light signal smoke, and in some cases improvised or specialized rounds. Soldiers also used flares offensively in a brutally simple way. Shot into openings to force movement, to mark a room, to blind for a second, to start fires in dry material, or to create confusion when the next step was an entry. The risk was immediate. A flare is not a grenade you can control. It bounces. It burns where it lands. And it tells everyone exactly where you are. In one case, a flare could flush defenders out of a firing position long enough to cross a doorway. In another, it lit up the shooter's position and started a fire that trapped civilians and soldiers in the same building. Would you carry one for that trade? Look at what these hidden weapons really are. Not magic tools. Not trophies. They're symptoms of friction of a system built for standardization meeting a fight shaped by corners, shortages, and panic. Institutions write rules to reduce chaos. Individuals bend rules because chaos is already there. If you want World War II history without simplification or mythology, subscribe to Brass and Blitz. We'll keep following the gear, the constraints, and the choices people made when the manual stopped matching the street.